Hey, folks, welcome to the Jake and Jon Show, world's greatest podcast. I'm here with my host, as always, or co-host, whatever you want to call him, Jake.
What's up, everybody?
And we have two special guests. One of them was actually on the last podcast. Josh, say what's up.
What's up, motherfuckers?
And then our other brother, Justin. What's going on, man?
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, obviously, today's Saturday, and the big topic is the fucking UFC 205 in New York. We got Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez. It's going to be a great fight. You know, before we even talk about the other fights, let's talk about that one. I want predictions before anything else. Jake, who's going to win that fight?
Alvarez.
Oh, Josh, what do you think?
I'm going to say Alvarez.
Justin?
I'm going Conor. I think history's going to be made tonight. This man is built for destiny, and I think he's got it.
I think you might be right. I don't know. I said earlier, I think I like Alvarez with the upset, but when you look at Conor's past, there's been a bunch of times where we thought he might lose, and he hasn't lost. So, I don't know. I think I'm going to give the edge to Conor, but there's some other good fights on there, too. We got the other title fight, Wonderboy Thompson versus Tyron Woodley, and that's going to be a good fight, too. I think that Tyron Woodley is probably going to take it, even though it would be cool if Wonderboy got it. And then we got the two Polish chicks, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, however you say her name, and then I'm not even going to try to say her fucking opponent's name. I have no fucking clue how to pronounce that.
I'm really looking forward to this one. The Russian thing, I like it, and man, what I've seen out of these girls, especially Joanna, has impressed me. So I'm looking forward to this.
Hell yeah! So there was one more fight on there that I liked a lot. I think it's Stevens versus. Who is his opponent? It's a high-level dude. Shit. I should have had it opened up on my phone. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. It's going to be a great fucking fight, though, and we're pumped about it. Everybody here looks a little lethargic because everybody here ate wings except for me, so I just had a couple of beers. But it's going to be good, dude, and I'm glad that everybody's here because we've sort of, in a way, made a ritual of trying to watch the UFC together, and this is one of the biggest ones. It is the biggest one ever.
You know, it's a red panty night.
Yeah,
and definitely. This is going to be amazing.
It's going to be the shit, man. So I think the prelims start at 7:00. We're in Central Time, or the prelims that are on Fox. So it's like 5:30 now. So we got some time to talk, a little time to shoot the shit a little bit. And I don't know, did you guys want to talk about Trump anymore?
I do. I mean, I haven't had a chance. Really.
Yeah, Justin. I mean, he hasn't got to talk about it at all, man. And we've actually barely even talked about it with him at all. I'd say, we'll give it a few minutes. Let's see what we got. Yeah,
so we talked to Josh about that. We obviously know where he stands, and me and Jake have talked about it a lot. So, I mean, Justin, are you happy with Trump being the president?
You know, I'm ecstatic with it because, to be honest, Trump wasn't my first choice. I chose somebody else in the primaries and was skeptical of him, but as time went on, I actually started to like Trump, and I think that Hillary was so bad, terrible, and it was just necessary to beat her. And you know what amazed me was the power of Hillary. She got close, but look what it took to beat her. They had to have WikiLeaks release all kinds of straight facts, massive amounts of facts, and all of her emails had to come out. All of these things, all of this truth came out, and Trump did win, but it looked close for a while. I mean, Hillary had to go. Crook, straight up.
You know what's amazing is how many people are still or up to the last minute were like, I'm with her supporters, even knowing all the information, from WikiLeaks. And I mean, that's certainly not the only source. We've known for a long time, and I mean, it's come from all different sources, that she's crooked, right? I mean, not to steal Trump's line, but there's a lot of people that just can't seem to accept it. I mean, it's such like a football mentality of our team versus yours that they can't seem to take hold of facts and accept what's happening.
You know what I think that is, man, is I think that Hillary represents an ideology, and more than the particular person in Hillary, they want to see the ideology progress. They want to see that move forward. So, that's why, I mean, Bernie was obviously a lot of people's favorite choice on that side.
Yeah.
But they got behind her not because it was her. They overlooked things that she did not because of her, but in an effort to keep going with the progressive movement. So.
Well, I mean, I have to believe that there is a better representative of that movement. I mean, Bernie Sanders is a better representative as far as just not being. I mean, I agree with very little of what he says, but I don't get the impression that he's just a lying crook either. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, I feel like he would be a better representative of that ideology. I mean, at least as, someone, if you don't agree with him, that you can respect.
Well, he was counted out and screwed from the beginning. I mean, look what the DNC did to undermine him.
Right.
Out of the gate, Hillary was the chosen one. Her family had the power. Her family had the connections through the Clinton Foundation to all these foreign countries. It was a foregone conclusion that they had to nominate her from the elite position. And that's what they did, and they lost.
Well, and that's a scary thing. So, I mean, I know that Hillary has definitely some legitimate supporters, but I wonder how much of an impact that the DNC support, actually had. Because I feel like even with the DNC, if they were kind of gunning against Bernie, that if he had enough support, you would think that he could still beat her. But I don't know. I'm skeptical a little bit of how much influence the DNC actually has. I mean, it obviously does over some people that look at their messaging, but there's a lot of people that aren't that hardcore into politics that aren't looking at every email from the DNC. So, I don't know. I'm just curious about that. What is that mentality that lets you say, "Hey, I don't really care how evil and fucked up you are, but I'll still support you"? Because I mean, there's plenty of people that did know the facts and still had their "I'm with her" shot glasses. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's unbelievable. But to Trump, really, some of the things that I love about Trump's agenda is I really believe that immigration illegal is an issue. Trump out of the gate, I'm going to fix this. Trump has listed his Supreme Court justices. Things are going to be protected. Second Amendment, don't have to worry about it anymore. He understands the importance of Made in America. He's going to bring jobs back, oil field, energy independence. All of these things are very important, and so I support Trump because of that. And it's going to be an entertaining 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in fact, right before we started recording, we were talking about, I think John brought it up, that somewhere down the line, or at least there's some talk that Milo Yiannopoulos could be his press secretary. Do we have any confirmation on this at all, that these talks are actually in place?
Well, I don't know about that. I know for sure that Donald Trump obviously knows who he is. I think most people, Milo, however you say his name, they have an idea of who he is, but he's hinted at it. Is it Milo or Milo? Do we know?
I've heard Milo.
I think it's Milo.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's definitely hinted at it on social media. He has a massive following. It's not just the United States or Canada. It's over in I don't know where he's from, but England somewhere over there. And a lot of people like him and they respect him because he's against social justice warriors, which I think that most normal, level-headed people are. And he's against being PC in general. And those two things tie together, obviously. But I think people are just burnt out and they're fucking sick of that shit.
You know what is something I've noticed just since the election? And I've always heard kind of the term self-loathing liberal, but I've never really witnessed it personally until after this election. And I've seen talk on Facebook and things, and people talk like they are responsible, them personally, for some of the wrongs in the world. Like they feel like they're apologizing for white people because of racism. They're apologizing for themselves because sexism or just any ism exists, and it's really a strange thing. It's because that's not your fault that an ideology. If you don't like subscribe to an ideology, you are in no way responsible for that ideology existing. So I don't. It's like a logic flaw that I can't quite wrap my head around. But these are the same people that are kind of the social justice warriors, the people that are fighting so hard for things for really bizarre reasons. I mean, I get the idea because I think of it more in terms of like a libertarian ideology. It's kind of like do whatever you want, but that's not really what's happening here. This is more like we want to almost push an agenda to make it correct rather than just saying it's okay if it exists.
I got a theory for that one is I think that kind of falls into a collectivism, another ism for you.
Sure.
Versus individualism. And, the American tradition, of course, is individualism. And what kind of bringing things down towards you as an individual and being accountable for what you do and those around you that are close. Collectivism takes on these grand theories that lead to that kind of a mindset that a person can feel like they're responsible for something that they have absolutely no part in whatsoever. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's driving our political discourse, and it's this like asinine way of thinking. And I guess that makes a lot of sense, like a collectivism, but I just don't understand how that sustains. Because I mean, it seems like eventually you get to this point where you're like, oh yeah, what I'm saying doesn't make any fucking sense, and you would abandon that, right? But instead they double down, and it's just really strange. I just don't get how that continues on, but. And maybe it doesn't. Like maybe the election of Trump is actually kind of showing a shift of the tide, and that people are not listening to that shit, and they're just, they're like, "What are you talking about?" And everybody's tired of not being able to talk about things the way they want to talk about them. When things get so politically correct that you can't even have an honest discussion anymore, then I think that's what people are reacting to. Is this? We can't talk anymore. If you say everything I believe is wrong, and people are embarrassed to say what they really think. And Trump kind of represents the opposite of that. He says exactly what he thinks,
Thank God.
Whether or not it's popular, right?
Yeah.
And it's yeah. And I think that's the popular thing is for Trump, is because people are like, man, finally we can have a discussion again. It's not just this half-assed discussion where everybody has to feel embarrassed about what they think.
Yeah, if 50% of the population doesn't have to be silenced anymore by political correctness, that's going to be very good for our country.
Yeah, man. Just improving the quality of discourse alone is such a huge thing for me.
And it seems like most of the people who fall into the social justice warrior category seem to be teenagers, college students, people who are probably 25 or younger. And Josh, you're the youngest among us here. I think you're just turned 28 in October. And do you still have any type of well, I'm not going to suggest that you ever had a connection with that crowd, but just being that you're still in your 20s, do you meet people like that? Do you interact with them?
I mean, I meet people like that, but of course I don't interact with that bullshit.
All right,
I don't want to hear that shit.
I just want to mention right now, Josh is wearing a shirt right now that's it says she wants the D. And it's the D has Donald Trump hair on it. It's hilarious.
Best shirt I've ever seen.
That is a great shirt, man. And you were saying earlier that Trump is, New Balance is now openly supporting Donald Trump simply because of his trade policy, which will help their company. And then you suggested that that be the new logo, like kind of his hair instead of like a Nike swoosh or the big N on their shoe. I think that would be fucking hilarious, man.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, fucking Donald Trump, he is our president.
Yeah,
and,
President Trump. Like just let that roll off the tongue. It's surreal to me still.
Yeah, it is.
That's great, man.
Who would have ever thought it?
I never would have thought it ever. Now, in the beginning stages, I didn't think he had a chance in hell. But then as time went on and those rallies, everybody kept showing up to him. I was like, he's probably going to fucking be the president.
Yeah, well, everything got so stupid. You needed something really stupid to react to it with to like even get a foothold, all right? And, well, we talked about it before, but, when you just line up a whole slew of plastic men reading off their, talking points, and then you have somebody else come out that's just a fucking madman, he stands out in the crowd.
You know what's funny is that Michael Moore is obviously opposed to Donald Trump being the president, but he made that video. You guys have seen it, right? Mm-hmm. Where he tells the story on stage about Donald Trump going up to the Ford executives or wherever they were at that conference and saying that I'm going to put the 35% tax on this and the cars coming back into the country. And by him doing that video, and especially people like the gods of the internet are putting like patriotic music behind it, is that helped him get elected even more. Because of the way because that video was in a sense taken out of context because it didn't get to finish what he was saying before or after. And so, but that video went viral, has millions and millions of views. People have put music behind it and fucking people love it, especially people who don't pay attention much. They don't really know much about Michael Moore. They just assume that Michael Moore is a Trump supporter. And so I think that that's great. And he kind of slapped himself in the face with that by releasing that to help promote his documentary. I don't know if that was the best move, assuming he really cares that Donald Trump is the president or not.
It's funny because that may have actually very much contributed to his win. And I say that because Trump won Wisconsin and Michigan. I think he won Michigan.
I believe so. Sure. It looked like it, yeah.
But those are two very union-heavy states who traditionally vote Democrat. And I was looking on some of the history, and it's been since like Reagan, since either one of those states were. I mean, we're talking a long time since they've been Republican, and just those two things, the unions pushed him over the edge, and there was the blue collar worker in those areas. And I hear all these. In fact, there's a guy I know. He's older. He lives in Oregon, and he is so angry about the Trump win that he's actually shunned family and just went crazy. Yeah. And he's talking about, we need to abolish the Electoral College. Well, no, the Electoral College is fine. Trump may have lost the popular vote a little bit, but had the union support in the traditionally Democrat states of the blue wall not fallen, you would have been fine. You lost.
Well, and, I think a cold hard fact that a lot of people aren't taking into consideration is that the people that voted for Obama voted for Trump this time. I mean, Hillary lost voters to Trump. This wasn't just a straight partisan thing. There is people that switched their vote. So that's your own folks. That's your base that stopped you from winning.
And there's many, many blacks, Hispanics, and Muslims that also voted for Donald Trump. So I think that that's kind of telling, is that people are sick of bullshit, man. They want somebody in there who's not afraid to say the truth and who's going to get shit done. To me, Donald Trump seems like the kind of guy that fucking gets shit done.
I agree
with that.
He's a winner, man.
That is exactly what Donald Trump is. He's a fucking winner. People talk shit about the bankruptcy thing. Like, who gives a fuck? He played by the rules and he won. Yeah. Like, if one of you guys went bankrupt and you did that, I'd be like, fuck yeah.
I'm filing bankruptcy.
Yeah, well, there you go, following his footsteps.
I'm a fucking taxpayer, I should be able to do that.
The thing is like, people were really hard on him, but if you're doing things that are within the scope of the law, he's already doing, no matter how negatively it's perceived.
The Democrats made
Hillary was doing
that.
Yeah, Hillary was literally doing things that are against the law, and he was just doing things that were I don't know. I guess they can be perceived negatively, but they were business smart and they were legal. So you can't.
That's what
any
good business owner would do. In that situation, that's what good business owners do, and that's why they thrive and succeed and grow.
Yeah, I would think anybody who any multi-billionaire that did something to lose money, that's the idiot. I mean, if you're using all the tools at your disposal that are illegal, yeah, that was the wise thing to do. I don't know how you can argue against it. Well, obviously they tried and failed, but
I think another thing with Donald Trump too is he's making more people pay attention to politics than I think has ever happened. I think when Obama was elected president the first time, that it got people definitely interested because he's the first black or half black president that we've ever had, and made people curious. But now you have this fucking superstar that's the president now. People are like, what the fuck? Everybody's asking questions. They're fucking looking up his past, trying to bust him for anything they can. And in that process, they're also learning more about laws, international laws, how fucking trade works, and that even just breaking down like how the definition of words that people use in the social justice warrior community the most. Like, what does bigot actually mean? What does racism actually mean? Because that shit gets thrown around so much incorrectly that these have lost meaning to most regular people. And so, and that in itself, I think, even if he's a shitty president, which I hope he's not, he's making people open their minds, expand their minds, and fucking learn what the fuck is actually going on.
A lot of, starting with the guy I know in Oregon, and he's an older guy, kind of ex-hippie or whatever, but his fear is real, and he is scared. And
this is the guy that's kind of like disavowed his family?
Yeah.
Okay.
He is completely terrified. And I'm thinking to myself, how in the world did you get to be this scared? I wouldn't be that scared if Hillary won. I mean,
right.
And he's legitimately terrified. And a lot of these people that are marching, protesting, they're truly scared. And I think that's just, they've told themselves the social justice stuff for so long that they really and truthfully do believe that Trump is a wild-eyed maniac that, wants to do all this crazy stuff, and it's just brainwashed to hell. And I think once Trump actually starts doing things and the world doesn't fall and the sea levels don't rise and, you know, people aren't murdered in the streets and, all these scary, terrified, propaganda things that these people truly feel doesn't happen, I think he'll gain a lot more support.
You know what's shocking? It's the level the lack of reading comprehension and understanding the importance of context, which many people have that are against Donald Trump. He said some kind of weird shit, or he sounded, I don't know, ignorant on certain topics. But when we talk about what he said about Mexicans, which you're allowed to call them Mexicans, that's not a racist thing. If you're a Mexican and you're telling me it's racist to call you a Mexican, then that means you don't like yourself. That's what you're telling me.
Back to that self-loathing.
Exactly. So, fuck, I forgot the
What
the fuck I was going to say. I don't know. But anyway, but back to what you were saying a little bit, Justin, the people marching through the streets, they're essentially doing the same thing to Trump. That if you picture your typical super white trash, uneducated, racist person that's just a cunt, they're doing the same thing. Like that white trash person would say, all Muslims are fucking terrorists. They're not. Some Muslims don't want to fucking do shit except for be a Muslim and go to work. You know what I mean? That's all they want to do. They don't want any part of that shit. But now they're kind of pushing that same energy on Trump and his supporters. They're saying that all Trump supporters are racist. That's the number one thing that I keep saying or seeing is that all Trump supporters are racist. And that's not true at all, because I'm not a Trump like supporter. I'm not standing out in the street with a fucking sign. But I mean, I think that he has a good chance of doing a good job. Doesn't mean I'm fucking racist.
And it's a strange hypocrisy, and I say that because, you know, when Trump came down and he was talking about the immigration policies, which got twisted to Trump called all Mexicans racist and drug dealers and murderers.
And all kinds
he
of
was
shit.
specifically, in my opinion and the way I heard it, talking about some of the illegal immigration that comes through, people that are rapists and drug dealers and even terrorists use the mass migration to mask themselves to get over the border and into the country. And that's strictly because it's wide fucking open. He's talking about closing that so we have more control of who comes in this country. And they blew that so far. They purposely left that legitimate concern and problem out to focus on him saying, or change it to say all Mexicans, and use that as a hammer against him. I don't think it worked.
Well, that's the thing too, is the exact quote. If it is, he said the word some. He didn't say all. So again, it comes back to comprehension, context, just understanding basic English. How the English, when you say some, that does not mean all. The fact is that some people who are illegal immigrants do come over here and commit crimes. It's an absolute fact.
Well, if you acknowledge that he meant some, then it's not a very effective hammer to use against him in a political, campaign.
I got the quote right here. So, it's, and assuming this is correct, I just pulled this up on my phone. But he says, "When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people."
Oh, there you go.
So that's what he said. So, I mean, he definitely kind of put that disclaimer at the end that I'm not talking about all people, albeit, kind of in a Trump way.
Yeah.
Right. I think any reasonable person knows what the fuck he's saying.
Yeah.
Anybody with logic.
Exactly.
But also on like this border issue is no one's calling Canadians racist, and I don't know if anyone here has ever tried to get into Canada, but it's not fucking easy. It's not like going to Mexico where you just show them a fucking ID and you roll through. Like, they screen the shit out of you in Canada, and they'll straight up say, no, get the fuck back to wherever you came from,
Yeah, and if you have a felony, you can't come into their country.
You can't get in there with a DWI most of the time.
Yeah, I think the idea of open borders is bizarre. I mean, you can't have a country and have open borders.
You can't have a secure country, safe country.
You can have a massive land, but you can't have what you can really call a country, a sovereign country, if you don't control your borders. I mean, that's a fact. And not only can you not have a sovereign country, but you can't have any semblance of true security if you don't know who's crossing the border. I mean, these aren't racist things. These are common sense things. These are very simple. This is how you have a country. I mean, like, build a country 101, draw your borders. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a lot more complex than that. And the idea that we should just let people come across unvetted just indefinitely is crazy. There's no benefit to that. I mean, I can see if it's like a refugee situation where, people are just getting slaughtered by the thousands, but that's not what's happening, right? It's so uncontrolled that just anyone could walk across, and we should be cautious of that. And I guess I just still don't understand the position of completely open borders, or just, and I don't like that we've moved away from like illegal alien, and I don't even care about the word alien. It's that we've moved away from the word illegal to undocumented, because that's changing the meaning of words to change the agenda. And because when you call somebody illegal, I guess it is what it is, right? Like, that's clearly illegal. It's a crime, but they want to step away from it being a crime and make it just, oh, they're just here undocumented.
They want to make it politically correct in term.
Yeah, I guess so. But it's just like a weird shift of the meaning of words and talking to get to some agenda. Does anybody have any idea why? I mean, like, somebody that honestly supports open borders, like, what is their agenda? And like, because obviously it's not so that more terrorists can come across and things like that. I mean, I would say I definitely err on the side of compassion. I mean, is why some people want open borders. But does anybody actually understand that position and what they're looking to get out of that?
I think there's a lot of components to it, but I think one of them from a social justice standpoint is fighting the racist. You know what I mean? Like just overboard compassion, almost to the point of finding an issue with those that want to have some semblance of control of who's in the country. Just manifested into this where they feel like, I would think they would feel like any way that they let up to allow for tighter border security is a win for the other side. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. It's not about what it is. It's about winning.
And for those that want tighter border security, I mean, I don't want to speak for an entire group of people, but I think that compassion is not something that is lacking, but a strong desire to have control over who is in the country and who is not in the country from a security standpoint, and even, to me, harsh drugs like heroin and cocaine and things like that, and the cartels, all of that, I think a border would help to alleviate.
It would. And speaking of borders, let's talk about that 8-sided fence that's going to hold the UFC 205 tonight, because that's quite a border in itself. But fortunately, you're able to see through it. And so we'll get back on that, man. And Josh, I know that you don't follow mixed martial arts religiously, but you do enjoy it. Do you have a favorite fighter? Or
past fighter would be Tank Abbott.
Yeah, I thought so.
But today it would be Nate Diaz. Yeah. I don't give a fuck if he lost or not, but that motherfucker is a warrior.
Yeah, it's hard not to like him, but you still like Conor McGregor also, right?
Conor McGregor, yeah, he's a great fighter. I mean, you know, everyone in the UFC is a great fighter. Conor McGregor is by far the best, like you would say, stand-up comedian type of the UFC. Yeah. You know, you're like a gazelle, I'm a fucking lion. You know, he's a badass troll, and, you know, he's a bad motherfucker. I mean, not to deny that, but I think tonight he's going to get whooped.
Well, he might, man. I don't know. It's tough to say. Eddie Alvarez is a tough motherfucker, man, but so is Conor McGregor. He's been counted out many, many times, and he's always fucking won, except for that one time against, as far as his, you know, since he's become Conor fucking McGregor, only that one loss to Nate Diaz, and Nate Diaz fucking put it on him. There's no doubt about that. But tonight's going to be interesting, man. But Justin, you've been a mixed martial arts fan for a long time, but you didn't get into it, I guess hardcore would be the right word, probably until like 2009, 2008 probably.
Yeah, you know, that's about the time. And one of the things that helped me out with that is I got the DVD of the 100 best fights of all time. And it caught me up on so much of the history of how things developed through the UFC, and just captivated me. And then there was that, and then also you know, your fighting career that you had there also got me into it. And then, you know, I started to really love mixed martial arts as I learned the moves and noticed that I could tell exactly what the fighters were doing and that they were setting themselves up to do. And the fighting made a lot more sense to me. I mean, at first it was like, that's an amazing knockout, and that is so cool. To turn into, I could see the strategy. I could see things developing. and I really started to enjoy this sport then. In fact, mixed martial arts, the UFC is the sport, my number one by far. Football, all that, yeah, but there's nothing that is more exciting to me than mixed martial arts.
That's so true, man. Knowing when you can see a transitional period happening when someone's going for a submission or something in the footwork, when you know that somebody's about to throw a fucking, I don't know, a wheel kick or a fucking roundhouse, whichever way you want to call it, and just seeing that excitement there when they're setting it up, it helps people enjoy the sport a lot more, because I've watched it with plenty of people. And I remember specifically I was watching it with my buddy and his girlfriend, and this was when I lived in New Jersey. And she doesn't know shit about mixed martial arts, and he just kind of does. He just likes to see knockouts, basically. But we were having some beers, sitting around and watching the fights. And it was a good card, too. It was one of the bigger cards. I don't remember who was fighting. But she kept making these like little shitty comments like, oh, he's fucking sitting on his head. That's so gay. And just like all this kind of shit. And then finally, towards the end of the night, I was just like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Just shut up. And then I kind of like caught myself. It's my friend's girlfriend. But to me, I love the sport so much. And she's just being blatantly just disrespectful, especially since I paid $60 for this and the beer and they didn't pay shit. You know, I invited them over because they didn't have anything to do. And I was by myself. You know, my other roommates were out of town or some shit or deployed. And I let them come over, and just that kind of, I don't know, that kind of ignorance about the sport. Like when I watch another type of sport, which isn't often, even rugby or something like that, if I don't understand what's going on, I look it up or I just continue to pay attention to see if I'm going to get into this or to see if I like it. And so I just don't like that, especially when it comes to martial arts, because it's based in respect and discipline and all that shit. And for somebody who's sitting there just talking all this shit, watching them, it's like, go fuck yourself. What are you doing? You're sitting on the couch eating a piece of pizza. You know, shut the fuck up. But, yeah, not to go off on too much of a tangent there about that. But,
you know, it's another thing about mixed martial art that's different than any other sport to me is the results, the risk is incredible.
Yeah.
You are setting yourself up or putting yourself in a position where you most likely are going to bleed or hurt for a long time or get just straight knocked out. Well, you know, and with that being said, too, another thing I like about mixed martial arts from a professional standpoint is that it's safer than some of the other sports. Even though it looks vicious and people get knocked out, it's not as bad as sports like boxing, where they do the 10 count on you, and if you get up, you can get knocked out again and again and again until you're finally out, and that causes brain damage. Or at least with mixed martial arts, if you get knocked out or if you get choked, the referees are pretty good, actually very good, at stopping the fight at a right time to save you from further damage.
Yeah, I think if you look at the statistics for all major professional sports that involve contact, that the UFC is still the safest when we're talking about major injuries. Now, the UFC might have the highest rate of lacerations, you know, cuts that require stitches, but that's not considered a major injury. It's just, you know, you get 10 stitches above your eye because you got punched hard. But as far as concussions and compound fractures and shit like that, if you look at the NFL or any other type of contact sport, they have a higher rate of all of that shit. And so I think people are starting to finally come around to that, the general public. This isn't just well, actually, they've been around for a while. They've come around. But it's not just a blood sport. These are real athletes that train hard as fuck. They know what they're doing. And it's a real fucking sport, man, and it's awesome. But one of the greatest things about this sport is that, and some people discredit it for this. They say, well, anybody can just go into a mixed martial arts gym and fucking train for 10 years and become a professional fighter.
No, you can't. Yeah.
Right. First of all, not just anyone can do that. But the beautiful thing is that, yes, anyone can go to a gym and they actually have a chance. Whereas if to become a professional someday, if they put their heart and soul in it. But if you look at sports teams, maybe some kid couldn't make the sports team for multiple reasons. You know, he never got his shot to see if he was good enough over years and years. People didn't want to pick him, or they didn't like him. His parents didn't want to take him back and forth to practice, whatever. But I think you can't really compare the two. They're trying to say that the people in the team sports are so much better athletes and all this shit. But I just completely disagree with that. I think that if nothing else, they're easily even. For sure. If you look at the top athletes in mixed martial arts, I think they're even with the top athletes in every other sport.
Well, sure they are. I mean, because it's a sport of passion. Like, because the guys that fight the hardest and that end up in the UFC, these are guys that have dedicated their life to it. It's this isn't like a hobby. They train all the time, and I mean they train as much as any other, if not more, than other sports figures, So yeah, you can't discount them. I guess one thing that's cool about MMA versus some of the others though is the entry point, because you can get into MMA. I'm not saying you can get into UFC, but you can get into MMA. Anybody. I mean, that's one thing that's true. Anybody can go to an MMA gym and start training, and if you're into it enough, you will go and have fights. I mean, they may not be big ones. It might be the smaller local stuff, but you have an entry point where you can actually participate in the sport, start building a record. I mean, for lack of a better word, immediately. You can get in there, and as soon as you feel like you're up to the task of going to a fight, you can start building your record.
Yeah, I think it's fucking badass, man.
And success, I mean, it can come from your individual talent and effort. And unlike a team sport where maybe you're a great player, but you're on a crappy team that scouts don't come look at. Well, if you're a shining star in MMA, your name is going to get out there until somebody, finds you.
Well, I guess that's one of the cooler things. It's a smaller pool, right? Like, I mean, it's not every kid out of high school playing football. I mean, it's definitely more of an elite group of people that are actually training hard for MMA. The people that are actually looking to progress and move up the ladder.
That's a great point you made, though, about the teams as well. As you could be a great player, and one, you don't have scouts coming to see you, but two, maybe you just don't have synergy with your team. You don't have synergy with your quarterback, or some of your linemen don't like you. They're not fucking blocking you. You know what I'm saying? Blocking for you. There's so many other factors, but when it's just you and that other person in the ring or in the cage in combat sports, I mean, yeah, your coach is yelling at you and shit, like trying to help instruct you, but at the end of the day, you can even if you're getting bad coaching, you can still overcome that and become a winner, because you're not relying on fucking 10 or 9 or 11 guys or whatever the number is in those sports. And I think it's fucking awesome, man. But yeah, let's get back to the actual fight tonight, UFC 205. And I want to get back to the fucking Conor McGregor thing, because this dude is the fucking shit. He's a massive superstar. He is the greatest shit talker of all time. The only other shit talker I would even put in his league, there's two. It's obviously Muhammad Ali and Chael Sonnen. I mean, who else can you say? There's other people who are okay at talking shit, but he's the fucking best, man. And but the thing is leading up to this fight tonight, he talked a lot of shit, but it wasn't quite the same as before. It's either that or Eddie Alvarez didn't quite react a lot of the way that a lot of the other opponents did, because he can usually shut people down, either make them completely rage or they just don't say anything at all. But I felt like Eddie Alvarez was kind of on an even playing field. And they say that shit talking and all that, it doesn't mean anything. It all matters when it goes in the cage. But there's actually statistics, I think on the website, mixedmartialarts.com, the underground forum, of where if people do certain things, like at the weigh-in, if someone smiles or laughs during the face-off, they have a higher percentage of losing, or whoever has the most tattoos has the highest percentage of losing in that fight for whatever reason. But yeah, so Eddie Alvarez, he didn't really do that well, in my opinion, in the press conferences, the shit-talking back and forth. He had a couple of little, I wouldn't call him zingers, but he did okay. But Conor still kind of owned him, because he's so good at it at this point that he's like fucking Dave Chappelle versus some unnamed shit comedian. You know what I'm saying?
Well, even in this last one, when Conor came out during the press conference, even his pants were disrespectful. Does anybody know exactly what was going on in his pants? Were those snowflakes?
I think I saw a close-up of it, and it's some kind of flower and vine pattern, I think.
Okay.
They're like Versace or some shit. I don't fucking know.
I mean, because, yeah, when he came out to this press conference, I mean, that was fully designed to take all eyes off everybody else. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, every piece of it, his, like, white, pimp jacket or whatever the fuck. That almost looked like a women's jacket. Buttons on the wrong side type of deal. But, yeah, between that and those pants, like, everybody forgot about all the other fighters. I mean, all eyes were on him. I mean, it was designed for that.
Yeah, you know what's funny, too, is a photographer caught whenever Conor opened up that big jacket, he still had the price tags in it. And so there's speculation on, did he just pick that up just for that press conference? He's going to take it back? I don't know. It's kind of funny. We sound like the fucking View.
Yeah, and to the View drama theories here, one thing I did notice about Eddie Alvarez, and it just shows the skill level, I think, in trolling, is in the press conference, Eddie Alvarez focused his critique on Conor's fans and the entire country of Ireland, and not on Conor. And that pissed off any potential fan from Ireland if Eddie Alvarez was to win this fight.
Yeah.
He's out. You know, he starts out with, "I'm disappointed with the entire country of Ireland." What the? that's very low skill trolling, in my opinion.
You know what? I was thinking about this earlier. What Conor should have said whenever he came out, at least at one of those press conferences, is like his normal like entrance. That's always he's throwing his hands up in there and everybody goes crazy. You should just pick up the mic and be like, "I'm here to make America great again." That would have been fucking funny as shit, dude. Just pure fucking genius, man.
I will say Conor, I think, looks healthier, better at 155. Granted, he weighed in yesterday, and we saw him, today when he was rehydrated, but still looks better, I think, at 155 versus, the skeleton look at 145.
Well, it almost seems like, this is all very subjective, but it seemed like he was a little lighter in this one than he was against, Nate the last time, because there was a lot on the line if you lose that second fight, where this time he seemed light again. He seemed like, just happier in general and more confident.
Yeah,
man. But Josh, man, we fucking been stealing the mic here for a minute. Yeah, I already asked you your predictions for tonight, though, man. But who is that other fight? I know you know who he is. The last name is Steve. And any fucking other day, I could have told you these guys' fucking names. It's is it Jeremy Stevens? Jeremy Stevens,
the little heathen.
Yeah, who is his opponent tonight, man? Because Josh, me and you were watching.
Oh, it's Thiago Alves.
Is it Thiago Alves? Mm-hmm. At lightweight, did he move down?
I think so.
I think you're right. I didn't know if Thiago Alves pulled out or not. But Josh, I remember this a while back. Me and you were watching a fight. This was a couple of years ago at least. But Jeremy Stevens knocked this dude the fuck out. And we were like, Jesus Christ. Like, this guy's going to go on a fucking tear. But, I really wish I could remember his opponent. And maybe it is Thiago Alves. But I could have sworn it was somebody else. I don't know, man. It doesn't matter. It's going to be a great fucking card. I can't wait to see those Polish girls throw down.
No.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
There's nothing like seeing two fucking women just brawl. Like a real fucking fight, not like a hair pulling bullshit. Like, they're out there fucking throwing punches just like the dudes are. And they're fucking savages. They go out there with their heart and soul with it. So,
and it's changed. It didn't used to be like that when the female MMAs first came on board.
I wasn't looking forward to it when they first came out. I was like, oh, it's going to be some bullshit. And then, now that you see like Holly Holm and shit like that, you're like, God damn, these fucking bitches are throwing down. They're putting their fucking hands down. Like, I wouldn't want to get in a ring with one of them.
No, I'd be tore up immediately.
I've been in a lot of fights, but fuck, dude, she'd definitely put my fucking ass on the ground.
Yeah, that fucking head kick of Ronda Rousey was fucking insane, man. Yeah. We all watched that fight together in my apartment, didn't we?
I think so.
I think we were all there.
I know it was me and you for sure. I can remember we were like standing up.
Yeah, I don't think I was there.
I think I was.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Josh, you were there with us when Conor fought Mendez, right? We ordered wings that night. There was 4 of us in there.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that was a great night, man. That was one of the few times when I've been watching the fights, and I got this sort of sick feeling in my stomach. It was excitement, but I was thinking, dude, Mendez could take you down and fuck you up for sure. He definitely could, and he did for a little bit of that fight, and I thought Conor was going to lose, and obviously I like Conor McGregor a lot. I don't know if I would be classified as a nut hugger, but I didn't want to see him lose that, because then it ruins the flow of the show, and where, because he really is carrying the UFC to a new place, because he's so fucking famous and so popular.
He's almost like the John Cena of the UFC,
Yeah.
I would say he has that reputation where everyone knows who Conor McGregor is, but they don't know some of the other fighters. But you're like, Conor McGregor, like, oh, the fucking UFC, oh yeah. He's like, I would say the John Cena of UFC.
Yeah, that's true. And they need that, because I can name one basketball player right now, not like Michael Jordan and shit, but current players, and that's LeBron James. Everybody knows LeBron James is a fucking awesome basketball player. Everybody knows that. But Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey do that for the UFC. They're like the 2 names that basically everybody knows. So fucking, yeah, dude. Conor McGregor's the shit, though, man. He went to J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez. He went to her fucking party, and he wasn't even invited. Somebody else he knew was invited and brought him along, and apparently he like stole the show once he got there, and she was all over him, and fucking trying to hang out with him and shit. So that just shows the kind of appeal and star power that he has. He's a big shot, and if he wins tonight, obviously he's going to be the first person in UFC history to hold 2 belts at the same time. And I believe there's only 2 other fighters that have ever won belts in separate weight classes. I think that's Randy Couture and BJ Penn. So, but to hold them both at the same time, that's some crazy shit, man. That means you're the fucking king of the jungle.
I have a Conor McGregor question. So I haven't been keeping up with the news as much as I was, MMA news. So last I'd heard is he was talking about not fighting in Vegas anymore after the fine for the water throwing incident. What's come of that, or has anything yet?
I mean, he said that, but if he's going to get paid fucking $13 or $17 million to fight in Vegas, and it costs him $150 for him to hype the fight, he's probably going to do it, right?
Well, the strangest thing about it, and I didn't follow this completely, was that I saw a statement from Dana, where Dana kind of had his back. He's like, yeah, like, why would he want to fight there, if they're going to do that? But I'd also heard that New York was thinking about holding him up a little bit because he hadn't paid the fine yet. I mean, obviously that got worked out somehow. I haven't kept up with it, but
yeah, I'm guessing the UFC was just like, fuck it, and they paid it for him, if I had to guess.
There's another good fight tonight I'm looking forward to, and that's Tyrone Woodley and Stephen Thompson.
Wonder Boy.
I'm looking forward to Wonder Boy. I'm hoping for him. So
yeah, when he put that fucking beat down on Johnny Hendricks,
oh my god,
I like Johnny Hendricks just because he's from Texas. I kind of liked him for a while, especially in the beginning of his UFC career. But when you start to see these interviews with him and all these excuses he makes, it's like I'm not really pulling for you anymore, man. You fucking bought this steakhouse back in like 2013 or whenever it was. You started getting fat as fuck. And you're trying to cut like 30 pounds of water instead of 30 pounds of fat to make weight, and you're putting on these shit performances. Like, you wasted it, man. You could have been like 4 or 5 time champion, but he fucking threw it down the drain. But anyway, he did look really good when him and Wonder Boy fought. He got his shit together for a little bit, lost the fat. You could see his muscle definition and veins and shit. You could tell he was back in shape. But Wonder Boy fucking put it on him, dude. And what the fuck? Hendricks, his wrestling is amazing, dude. He couldn't do shit to fucking Wonder Boy, who's has a kickboxing background, but he's been training with Chris Weidman, the former middleweight champion, and fucking who is an excellent wrestler. And Hendricks couldn't do shit, dude. It was like watching a Bruce Lee movie, doing spinning shit, fucking uppercuts, all kinds of shit. He just fucked him up, dude. But
Wonder Boy uses that length correctly to hold people at bay, and that's, I think, going to be a big key tonight, because he can't let Tyrone get in because he's got the knockout power. Got to keep him at a distance, and if anybody can do it, it's Wonder Boy.
I have to agree with you. Now, they brought in Sage Northcutt into Woodley's camp to try to help mimic that action, and it may help. I don't know, man.
It just might. Yeah.
But everybody knows MMA math doesn't work. You can't say because somebody did this against one opponent, they can do it against another. But when Woodley fought Rory McDonald, who I would put more, the way that he looks when he fights, I would classify more as a karate fighter. Kind of has that stance and the way he moves and shit like that. But he completely shut Woodley down, man. Just held him up against the cage. Woodley was afraid to explode and to come out to go for the knockout to do shit. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's a real possibility that could happen tonight. But I don't know.
It's going to be tough for him because karate, by its nature, is the counter puncher guy. So, I mean, Woodley's got to be on the lookout for those knees coming in when he's, or coming up when he's coming in, and that counter punching. But he has to. If he's going to get the knockout, he's going to have to hop in and see where that goes.
Yeah, and he's a great fighter, but he has a good chin, but he has been knocked the fuck out before by Nate Marquardt back in Strikeforce. Nate Marquardt won the title like that, and he hit him with this 3-piece combo that was just fucking beautiful. Had him on the fence, and he was TKO'd, technically knocked out with the first punch, but he was still kind of standing. And Marquardt hit him with 2 more shots, like a left hook and a right uppercut, I think. And it was just so beautiful and so perfect. And he was out cold, man. It split his lip wide open. So it's not out of the realm of possibility at all for him to get knocked the fuck out tonight. I think that's what I'm trying to say. But how much we gotta start the prelims here pretty soon. How much time do we have left?
Oh, it looks like we got about a half hour.
About a half hour till they start. Okay, cool, man. Well, I don't really know if I have much more analysis of the card tonight. I just got caught up on the hype videos and all that kind of shit, and I think it's just come down to, like, I'm ready to see these motherfuckers throw down, man.
Me too.
Yeah, I think everybody's ready to see them throw down.
Hell yeah! I kind of wish there was a betting site that I would trust, so I could make a little bets here and there, because I'm like maybe on my best day 60% accurate on picking winners. But you never know, man. You can make some fucking big bucks.
Yeah, I won $300 on the Super Bowl last year.
Did you do it through like an internet website?
No, I just bet Josh.
Oh.
But,
yeah.
Need to have like those those like kind of like they do with the football pools,
Like little
right?
squares and shit or something
Yeah, I
like
mean,
that.
I don't know if there's enough to do that with MMA. Well, I guess you could say, knock out by this,
We could
or
just make the square smaller, or like the platform of it.
I guess you could say what happens in what round or something like that. If you get enough people on board, that might be cool.
Yeah.
We just do like 50 cents a square or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that's the worst way that Conor could lose tonight, right? Is just an ice cold KO.
In like a first round KO would be brutal. Yeah.
Do you think that he would be able to recover from that? I mean, he would obviously. I mean, as far as his fan base is concerned.
Well, he still kind of has that card he can play of, well, I wasn't fighting in my weight class. You know what I mean? He kind of has that. I don't know if he can get away with it or not, but that would be my guess is, it's the bigger man, and all that kind of shit, But
he could pull the card that they all pull is, I had an injury, but I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to sound like a bitch.
Yeah. Well, he couldn't really pull the weight one because he's bigger than Eddie visibly when they square off. Yeah. Like he's the bigger man.
He was definitely, he's taller, right? And
longer. He doesn't look skinnier in any way.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man.
The thing I worry about Conor in this fight, and this may not be true, but it's just something that I think I may have noticed about him, was it doesn't really seem like his focus is on Eddie Alvarez as much as some of his past fights. He's focused directly on those fighters. I don't know if he's gotten caught up in something else or, the fame's gotten to him or whatever, and this may not even be accurate, but I detected a hint of that in some of the stuff he was saying and some
like
of the
in
ways
the
he was
press conferences and shit.
Yeah. Who knows if that's true, but that's a concern that I have for him.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Is it that, or is it just his maturity in the game that he's done it so many times that he's just not as excitable? He still has some great shit that he said, some funny stuff, but it did seem like it was toned down a little bit this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess when everything you do is like the main event, I guess maybe that does lose a little bit of its luster after the fifth time or whatever.
That's true.
Yeah.
Every time he comes on stage, every time he speaks, he knows that he's got to be. It's a performance.
Well,
and how do you up that every time?
Yeah, because every fight he's been in, the last several have been the biggest fight of the UFC. For how many in a row? 4 or 5 now. Every time, this is the biggest fight we've had. So, yeah, I guess you have to kind of keep that momentum too, because that's starting to become his norm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, that's crazy too. Like if you look at Woodley, he's an awesome fighter and a great athlete, but he just doesn't have that star power thing that somebody like Conor McGregor has. It's just not there. He doesn't really talk shit. He's not that good at it. He's not like his best move would be to come out and just come out in pimp clothes or some shit and just talk about pimp slapping everybody. Not because he's black, not to get all fucking social justice warrior or anything, but I'm just saying it would be funny,
Mm-hmm.
Like make people remember you for something. But when you give those generic answers, like when you see football players, we had a great game, the defense played, and doing all that shit, like nobody gives a fuck. Like say something controversial, like say the guy was a cunt or he fucking
Got him by the pussy.
Yeah, he tried to check your oil while you guys were wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, say something like that. Fucking make people remember you. But I guess a lot of people, I guess you have to have a natural talent for it. Maybe you're raised a certain way, or you grew up with certain people, and you just kind of have that shit talking genetic thing. And I don't know, but
I know as being a fat ass that I'm pretty good at talking shit on the fly. Maybe Conor was fat when he was a baby. Maybe.
Could be, man. I don't know, but I think we're about ready to wrap it up. It's we need to go through our own little transitional phase here before we turn on Fox and start watching these fucking prelims. But you guys got anything else on the fights?
I can't wait to see what happens, man.
Yeah, I'm ready for this.
I'm just fucking jacked. That's where my mind's going now. It's
Me too.
I'm transitioning from podcast mode to I'm ready to see people get fucked up and have a couple of beers.
Well, cool. Well, man, really cool having both Justin and Josh on at the same time. Hopefully we can do this more often where we can get all 4 of us in the same room.
Yeah, it was good, man.
Thanks for having
Got
me.
definitely an open invitation. Anytime you guys are in town or around, we can make it happen.
Yeah,
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't wait to be back.
Yeah.
fucking A, cool,
Appreciate
man.
it 2 times in 1 week.
Hey,
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, as always, you can check us out at jakeandjonshow.com, on Twitter at Jake and Jon Show, Facebook at Jake and Jon Show. If you want to leave us a voicemail, number is 804-557-4691. I think that's about all I got.
Later, alligators.
Peace out, motherfuckers.
Take it easy.